overcome ego bias in relationships. So let's call our first speaker Tanya Castillo. Give her a big round of applause, please.
Thank you very much. Hello, thanks for coming. It's a pleasure, an honor, a privilege, and a wonderful opportunity to be here at the WEF again with so many wonderful, inspired human beings, souls that are connected with a purpose. And the main purpose, I believe, is to be one. I believe that is the main purpose of All Ladies League, of the Women Economic Forum, and within each one of us. So when we're talking about ego bias, it is exactly the opposite. It is visiting duality. And actually for me, it has been a discovery process because I went through many relationships in my life. Actually, relationships is my life story. And I always grew each time I met people throughout my life, and keep on growing each time I meet people throughout my life. And now when it comes to intimate relationships, sometimes things get tricky, especially when we're talking about dealing with ego bias. And that was, for me, my time for a big awakening. Is when I realized that the fault was not someone else's, that it was not my partner's fault that things were not working out sometimes, that it was not them I had to blame when we did not agree, that something had to change within myself if I wanted to encounter a different kind of relationship, a different kind of connectedness in intimate relationships. So I'm going to focus more on that area. So what happens is, generally, when we enter a relationship, we start pretending to be the best version of ourselves and hide the rest. And the other person does the same thing. And then we fall in love. And then we enter a relationship biased, because we don't really know the full extent of that person's colors, and that person does not know the full extent of our colors, because we have not shown them, and they have not shown us. But of course, if we live together, then definitely those colors will have to show up. And when they start showing up, when we are still looking at the other as outside of us, when we are not realizing that they are simply reflecting us from inside, then we start thinking that something's going wrong, that there must be something wrong with the other person, that they have to change something, that they have to be something else, that they have to somehow accommodate so that the relationship can work. But many times we are not ready to look, stop and say, wait a minute, I also have to change things, I also have to accommodate, I also have to find out why there are things in this person that are creating some sort of disturbance inside of me, some sort of emotional turmoil. And then, so if we go into the relationship and continue on this level, what happens is that sooner or later we fall out of love, because we start clashing against each other instead of fusing and melding and cooperating. So what happened, for example, in my own relationship life, was that I kept on encountering the same issues over and over again with different people. And they became worse with each new relationship. Until I came to a point where it became terrible. And when I came into that relationship where it became terrible, that's when I was starting my awakening. And that's when I stopped and said, wait a minute, there must be something beyond this. And so I stopped, and every time the other person showed me a mirror that was hurting me, I stopped and said to myself, wait a minute, this is me feeling hurt. Where is my hurt inside of me? And where am I exactly the same? Because if I am not exactly the same somewhere inside of me as that mirror, then it will not hurt me. Then I will just accept it naturally and flow through it. And I will not collide. And I will choose from a very centered, balanced place why I am in that situation and if I want to keep in there or not. But I will not be in conflict. So when I realized I had to not argue, but keep quiet, remove myself, and look inside, I found hell. Literally. Why? Because then I was faced with all of my emotions, with all of the parts of me that were hiding in the dark, with what we call our shadow. And all of my shadow was able to show itself because I had the blessing of having a huge shadow in my life. So this person was, in fact, the one who brought me on my path of mastery. And so by stopping and not interacting violently, not arguing, not questioning, but accepting, removing myself and diving within and inviting these parts of me back home, which came from many lifetimes, many interactions with many humans, then things started making sense. And all of a sudden, I realized that there was a different way. And I started receiving this question from my soul every day. She, I call it a she. It could be she or he because it's, of course, genderless. But okay, she started asking me, do you choose to fight against or to cooperate with? In every single situation. And I was in a very dire situation. I had a lot of debt in the bank because this person did not have bank accounts. Everything was in my name, and spent a lot of money and wanted things all the time. And I said yes, because I needed recognition and I needed to be in control. So I worked myself stupid and I paid for everything until it came to a point where I couldn't go further. And then that's where fight against or cooperate with started to become my mantra. So do I fight against my financial situation or cooperate with it and let it show me how to get out of this? Do I fight against my relationship situation or do I cooperate with it and find my way through it? Do I fight against my how do I call it? Well, my job, my work lifestyle, because I worked a lot of hours a day. Or do I cooperate with what this is showing me? So I realized I was working many hours so that I wasn't at home so much. It was a technique I subconsciously created in order not to be vulnerable to that relationship I was in and to all of that situation. But of course, sooner or later I had to stop, right? because otherwise I could not resolve it. If we keep on hiding our head in the sand, we're never going to resolve anything. So from all of this, overcoming ego bias became the only thing for me. Coming into my essence and surrendering totally and completely. And why? Because we all have it. Every single human being has essence. Actually, everything, every animal, every plant has essence. Everything is infused by essence. So if we surrender to that, and we allow essence to show us how to cooperate rather than fight against, ego will never, ever keep us prisoners again. By cooperating with, we find the flow. And as, not in Indian culture, but in China, we go into the Tao, we become it. And that's how I got myself out of a very dire situation. And today, I am extremely thankful to this person who is the father of my son, and who I honor, and who I accept to be the way he is, wherever he is. And I, of course, have my own life wherever I am. We do not need to be together, right? If we're not going in the same direction, we can part, but we do not need to fight. We just accept that paths move with the Tao. And many times I hear this situation where people say, those two, they got divorced or separated or whatever, it didn't work out. It's the silliest thing ever. Well, what does that mean? So why does a relationship work only if people stay together? It works out, yes it does. It works out until people are in that relationship, and it will continue working out for each one because we are individuals. Just one last thing I'd like to say. So we can choose which part of the person we want to communicate with, because people have different aspects. They have loads of personality aspects, and if they're not dissolving them, of course, they will be using that ego. But if we are in our essence, we can also choose to communicate heart to heart. And hearts, they only speak one language. No matter what the person seems to be, no matter how bad they seem to be, they have a heart. And if we communicate from there, even in silence, we can get through even the hardest situations. So for me, that is overcoming ego bias. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, let's call our next speaker, Bharti Naik, please.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much, Women Economic Forum and all in ALL League to invite me here to share my thoughts, my feelings about a very important topic, which is how to overcome ego bias in a relationship. And being a relationship strategist, working with couples to understand their relationship dynamics, understanding what is their relationship code when they are in a relationship. So that's what I have been working with a lot of couples, and also been studying very minutely about what are the dynamics that they come when they enter into a relationship. So I'm very honored and pleased to be here at this platform, and thank you so much for listening to me. So let me quickly jump to a very important word that is there in this phrase, which is ego. And a lot of people understand ego as, or they have a very a simple notion about ego, that ego is very similar to pride, whereas it is not. Many a times we do get confused that ego, pride, all these things are same thing. So if somebody is talking about some achievements, or if somebody is talking about I have earned all these things, or if somebody is talking about boasting about certain things, we always see that he comes with an ego, or he comes with some attitude, whereas it's not. If you look at it from a psychology point of view, ego is a very technical term. Just as an engineer understands the difference between a voltage and a current, it's as simple to understand ego, which is a very technical term. So when we call it as ego, there is a very important element that comes under this, is when you say I am. If you say that I am great, you are mentioning about ego that you have inside. When you say that I am something, you are again mentioning about your ego. If some people say that I am humble, that's also ego that you're talking about. And there are a lot of people, they do keep on repeating this to the world, that throughout my life I have been a victim. Now, if you are even mentioning yourself that I am a victim in my life, even that is a great ego that you're talking about. And if you're saying that I have achieved so and so, and I am this great person, even that is an ego. So when you're mentioning about ego, you need to understand that from where all these ego things that has come in us. We are being physically conditioned and socially conditioned throughout our childhood. We never were born with all these things. We were not covered, we were not great, we were not humble, we were not all these things. So as we grew as a child, we started picking up all the pebbles as we moved through the seashore. We looked at our elders, we looked at our parents. We understood, okay, what is the relationship that my father and my mother has? What is the relationship that my grandmother has with my grandfather, or my uncle and aunt? Or what is the relationship between two brothers? What is the relationship between two sisters? So as a child, we kept on picking up all these nuances in a relationship. And as we started picking up these pebbles, we realized that we are also picking up certain sense of being in a power. So we started understanding as a child that if we are in a relationship, we are looking at as a power. So if there's a power in me, and I can dominate, or I can say something to the other person in a relationship, and the other person says, okay, that means I'm powerful and the other person is powerless. And then I feel good about that. The moment I feel good about this, I get that sense of achievement that yes, in a relationship, this is what is working, and that's how a relationship should be. So we start developing these kind of small beliefs throughout our childhood, and as we grew in a teenage world, we start looking at our peers, we start looking at teachers, we start looking at so many people around us. And then we start understanding, okay, how is the relationship dynamics changing in us? So till the time you are teenage and you are picking up all these things, which is okay. You can understand, considering that you are evolving as a human being. But the moment you are now entering into a young adulthood, and we are not able to differentiate between what is it that we have picked from outside world and what is it that we have inside, if you're not able to differentiate, then there's a problem. And that is what I have been observing with all these couples that come to me for understanding their relationship. So I do have couples who come and they say that we are at this juncture of our life, we are at this juncture of our relationship. We don't know from where to go this. Or a wife would come and say something about husband, or a husband would come and say something. Sometimes mother-in-laws will come and talk about their daughter-in-laws, or it's like so many dynamics that they come up with. And they always talk about that, and the image that they portray is that I have been the victim in this relationship. And the other person is a villain who has done all these things to me. The question is very simple. Are we actually being a victim in a relationship, or we allow somebody to do this? And if the answer is that we allow, and then the question is that how are we allowing this and why? Again, comes back to the same story. You must have picked some pebbles during your childhood, and that would have gone into your head stating that, okay, this is how a relationship should be. So now the question comes is, okay, if this is what drives a relationship, then how should I overcome this ego thing? And I would like to give you very simple tips coming from all these experiences and studying these couples. The very 3 simple tips about how would you overcome ego bias in a relationship is, the first and foremost thing is to listen to the other person. What we do is, we listen to the other person, but not just listening. We listen because we want to respond, we want to react, we want to say something. So the moment the person starts saying something, we are in our head already thinking that, okay, what is it that I want to say now? And that is where I have to quote that there are 4 things that happens in a relationship. One is a power struggle. So always you look at it from a power struggle point of view. So if the other person is saying something, your perception is that I am being criticized, and hence he or she is telling me. So the criticism comes as the first factor. And the second thing comes as, when I say I'm criticized, and there's a power struggle, and because of all these things, am I being a victim into a relationship? And that is where you go into a defensive side. So the second element comes is your defense. So you start defending. So when you're listening, you think that you are being criticized, and the second thing is you think that you have this power struggle, and you go into the defensive mode. So the first tip that I would like to give everybody is that when you listen, it's not because of the criticism that you are being told, or it's not because of you have to be defensive. It's about just listen. Now it's very easy to do that. When you listen, you just keep your ears open and your mind open, that's it. You don't have to think about it, that why he's saying all these things to me or why she's saying this to me. Just listening to it. And the moment you listen and you acknowledge the person that yes, I listened and I understood what is happening. So acknowledging the person is very important. The moment you have listened and acknowledged the person, immediately the person understands that, okay, here is the person who has listened to me. So now it's my chance to listen to her. So let me hear what she has to bring into the platform. And the moment you have this, a very simple way of connecting with each other, the ego biasness in a relationship starts fading away. And the third part is, the moment you have acknowledged it, and you start sharing that, okay, this is how I want, this is how my life, I look at it this way. So it's about putting everything on the platter. And the moment you start putting everything on the platter, and let the other person also put everything on the platter, let's see what is to be done and how we can do this in a better way. And there comes the 4th element, which is your acceptance. And that is what is going to remove the ego biasness in a relationship. If you look at it, I have many stories to narrate. A young girl came to me that she has a bad relationship with the mother. Now I was quite surprised that, okay, a relationship can go a little haywire with a mother as well, and yes. Now there was no major thing which was perceived by the young girl, stating that yes, there is this conflict, and she nags me, she keeps on telling me all these things. So she puts me into a certain kind of control. And that is what is happening with me. And obviously, she was talking about everything which would perceive that she is a victim. And that is where she was expecting everybody to look at her as a victim and expect certain kind of behavior from everybody. So if I'm going and telling to you that I have this relationship issues and this is what is happening with me, so I'm expecting from you that you would be empathizing with me, would say some good words, would have a soft corner for me. So I'm expecting that kind of behavior. And the moment I don't get that behavior, what happens to me? I get angry, or I say, no, she is not the person, I don't like her. So that is how all the dynamics keeps on changing. So the key factor is, if you want to remove the ego, remove the word I am, and start looking at it, what is the physical conditioning or the social conditioning that you have bring in or that you have got from your childhood, considering everything. So it's like you have built a castle surrounding you, which is external, and now you have to look inside, that what is it that nuances I can bring in my relationship. So the 4 tips, I'll just repeat the 4 tips. One is listen, just listen to the person, acknowledge it, appreciate it, bring everything to the platter and accept it. And thank you so much for being such a wonderful audience. Thank you.
Thank you, Ram. Now, our next speaker is Anu Krishna.
Hi everybody. It's nice to be back with WEF. Did I say F? Sorry. Okay, I must be hungry. Yes. Having worked with a lot of people in my, let's say, right from the day we are born, we are working with somebody to make relationships work, right? That's what we keep doing. And now, this being my profession, I think it was just my calling that I had to go back to what was beckoning me for I don't know how many decades. And now I focus a lot on relationships, relationship with self first, and then relationship with others. It's sad, as Tanya was mentioning, when we talk about divorces. I know I was working with this very young lady, and very new marriage, and we were working on her discord that she was having with her husband. And after 2 weeks, she says, you know, now help me push him out of my life. It was sad. Okay, as a coach, there's only little that you can do. You can't force somebody to see something that they don't want to see. But having said that, I'm not going to be talking much about my what I do as with my work, but I am going to talk more on my personal experiences with ego, the I. We had Bharti talk about the I. For a very long time, it was about me. It still does many times. The I does come into play. Where am I? Who am I? What am I doing? Am I getting everything? Am I doing everything right? There's constantly the I factor. And that's what leads to this ego bias that we talk about. Is I see everything from my perspective. And it's very easy for me to stand here and probably blame my social conditioning or the conditioning with which I was brought up. And yes, it's a fact. I still go back and tell my parents, I think I was in a very emotionally dysfunctional family, right? But nothing to blame. I think I could take matters in my hands, and I have done that, to see now that I make my external circle of influence one that is beautiful, which comes from my heart. So I lead it from my heart. I've gone through this phase of being a very angry child, a very bitter teen, plummeted to my, the lowest of self-esteem, because I was told that I was the only person in my family to have worn glasses at the age of 7, and that was not very nice for me, because I was told that I could go blind anytime. And I was bitter. Yes, I was bitter. Not knowing that it was just in my genetics and I just got it, but, well, I was bitter why I was that way. I was bitter when I had a lot of pimples on my face and I was told that I would never get a boyfriend. And that's a huge thing for us, right? At age 17 and 18, not to have a boyfriend was like, oh my God, I don't fit in anymore. I fought. And I think I was fighting continuously, not with the outside world, but I think I was just fighting with myself, blaming everything and everybody outside of me, not knowing that it all had to start with me. I never had good, I could just count my good relationships on my fingertips. I didn't have a good relationship with my parents because I thought it was their fault that, I was there and, they didn't take care of me, they didn't take me to the doctor at the right time to treat my eye. So it was very easy to just go ahead, point a finger at people outside and say, the cause of my misery is you, it's not me. This went on and came a point when I had to actually get married, and I think I was still angry. And I think that was the best decision that I ever made, to get married at that point of time. I just completed 20 years of my marriage, and one of the best things that have happened to me is I think I married not a person, for him to be my husband, but I think for somebody to show me the mirror. And that's why I think I had to be married to him. Patience was something that came very easily to my husband, my friend, I would say. And I was still fighting with him. I still remember the first week after we moved in, and after marriage, we shifted to another city, and I said, everything that we do from now on is going to be 50-50. It had to be, because I had my ego, right? I had to. And where was that ego coming from? I was just protecting myself. That's all the ego did. I was just adding on layers onto myself. You don't see it probably, but I know there were layers. I could not even talk straight or even look him in the eye and say, I love you, because I don't think I did. It was just all about me. I just loved myself to just protect myself from any external misery that was out to get me. He said, okay, so we'll do it 50-50, just the way you want. So I said, wow, that was easy. Okay, I didn't have to fight with anyone, it was very easy. Very simple. The next movies, I would get to choose the movies. Why? Because I wanted to watch something that was a little mopey, so I could sit and cry in my misery. And I said, okay. He would say, okay, let's go for that movie. Restaurants would be my choice. Going on a holiday would be my choice. Everything had to be my way. And all I was doing was just putting myself into that loop over and over again without even realizing what I was doing. There was no relationship, there was just I in it. Soon, I became a mom. And I didn't know, even at that time, what it was to be a mom. I held a baby, not even knowing that I was in that loop again. I loved, but just to get something back in return. It was never like, oh, I'm just loving and that's all, I don't want anything. I became an instruction parent because that was the way I was parented. So I said, oh wow, that's what it's supposed to be. What was handed out to me has to just go back. Then I had my second baby, and I was just doing the same thing. And the only thing that I got back in return was probably people hiding their true self from me, not even me realizing that I was keeping the best parts of them away from me. I never had any fulfilling relationships with anyone. Till the day my daughters grew up enough to ask me only one question: why are you angry all the time? That's when I woke up. By the time, the baggage that I was carrying of so much of anger, bitterness, and that translated not only in me, like Tanya was saying and Bharti was saying, financially I wasn't well off. I had to think swiping a card 100 times before. I used to fall sick very often. I would just recover from a cold and a cough and I would be back sick again. And this loop never stopped till that question came: why are you angry all the time? And I said, baby, I don't know. I don't know why I'm angry. And all this while, there were 3 people in the house showing me the mirror and saying, here we are, go fly. Okay, we support you every time. And that's exactly, I had to take charge, and I think I did. Late bloomer, but I think I did. And that's when I started stepping in when I had gone to the depths of actually a personal trauma that could have, I fought it alone. It was about 10 years back. And I told myself, I think I'm fighting this far too much. Now's the time to look at the other side of the spectrum, and let's see what love has to offer. That's what I did. It was beautiful. Just to love from the heart. And one thing I realized, when every time I used to have an argument either with my children, yes, I used to argue with my children, fight tooth and nail. I'm not proud of it, but that's who I was. And the only thing I realized from that was, hey, it's nice to have an argument, and at the end, not really I had to win. I didn't have to win. I can see, I can lose, and there's so much beauty in that loss. It's not about me, it's not just my perspective. So every time my husband would offer a perspective, I said, oh wow, there's a second person point of view. And then maybe there's another point of view. And I said, oh, this looks nice, just to zoom out of that, look at it from something different, and find that I didn't have to fight anymore. I was so happy losing for the first time in my life. I think we're in 2018, I think it was 2008 or 9, I'm not too sure, yeah. And I told my husband, wow, it's so much fun and happier and more relaxing, not to hold fort, not to, fortify myself and add on all those emotional baggages, and happier losing, and it's so much fun. So that was the starting point, and I remember him actually heaving a huge sigh of relief. It was like, after I think 10 years of our marriage, saying, wow, you arrived. And I really, loved the guy only because he stood by me for me to for me to bloom in that entire relationship. And today when I work with people personally on their relationships, I tell them only 3 things for the sake of simplicity. Say, just be aware of where you are with yourself. When people are pointing out something that's amiss, take that on. You don't have to fight them tooth and nail to prove yourself. You don't have to prove anything to anybody, including yourself. Just be. Just be in that moment and realize that when they're saying that, they're probably just touching a chord with an internal emotion of yours. So just look at that and find out what that emotion could be telling you. Yes, it's protecting you, but do you really want that protection from that emotion? Is it time for it to go from your life? And that's exactly what it was. I let go of that emotion, and boy, what a freedom that was from that emotion, of that anger, that bitterness, that need to protect myself from God knows what, something that happened to me way back in my childhood. I didn't have to hold on to any of those things. The second thing that I did was to accept it when people told me. So there have been people who have come and told me, Abhiram, that you're, and I'm not going to use the word, you're a B, and they said that, and I said, wow, it's taken me a long time to earn that title, and I said, okay, that's your perspective, I'm not fighting it. This was about a couple of years back, and I said, I'm not fighting it. You're entitled to your perspective, and I'm going to leave it at that. So accept it. You don't have to fight it anymore. And third is, just take action, and for me, action was the simplest thing that I tell people is, just zoom out, just take a bird's eye view and you know exactly where you are. And you see yourself as just a minuscule in this entire planet, and what are you fighting for? Your space? You have it. You don't have to fight for that space. Like I have this now and I'm very content. When I sit there, I'm there. When I'm listening to Tanya, when I was listening to Bharti, they had their space and I have my space. I don't have to step on, and we don't have to keep protecting ourselves at all. Just be. That was the biggest lesson. So for me, ego bias, as big as that word was, I don't think there's any more ego when the I is taken out of the picture. Just be there, and I think everything seems to just fall beautifully in place. And that's the biggest lesson of my life for me. Thank you so much for listening to me, and it gave me a chance to actually share literally my heart, okay, not my work, but my heart, which goes into every sphere now, every relationship, every conversation, every work that I touch has become more meaningful because of this just be. That's all I want to say. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Now let's call Rachna Avatramani.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so happy to see you, a feminine face in the group. From heart to mind, my name is Rachna Avatramani. I'm a counseling psychologist by profession, practicing since 8 years, handling relationships from mother, daughter, father, son, father, daughter, mother-in-law, daughter-in-law, incest relationships, LGBT group. I think name it and I might have handled it. And blessed to write for Times of India for the past 1.5 years, so you can read the kind of relationships I've handled. So I'm going to talk more technically. People have beautifully spoken about their heart, and so when I decided to speak on this topic of how to overcome ego bias, I knew that I'm going to talk a part of my book that I'm writing on relationship investment, and I'm very glad that I got this opportunity at Women Empowerment Forum and all to speak about it. For the first time, I'm going to talk about a part of it that I have been writing and summarizing that in few steps. So what is an ego bias? To be a little more technical again, as I said, from heart to mind, a tendency to rely heavily on myself. I think I am something more better than you are. It can be any relationship, intimate relationship, family relationship, relationship at work. Any kind of relationship where I'm feeling I'm more better than you is what an ego bias is. Why is it important to deal with it? I think a lot has been covered by the speakers before. Why? And they've shared their personal stories. So they've told you why is it important, how they were shattered, how they've overcome their challenges, and so beautifully you all have done that. So I'm not even going there, I'm just saying that it can kill something and create something beautiful. Both can happen in that situation and how you learn over it. What I have done is, I have got this entire thing into 3 steps, ABC, basic. This is how I will overcome an ego bias. Some of the points have been covered, but I'm going to summarize it into ABC. This is basic. School mein sikhana chahiye tha. They should have taught us in school. How to overcome this concern that we face in a relationship. So A stands for awareness. Somebody spoke about it. Awareness about self. Awareness about your situation. Awareness that yes, there is an issue, there is a concern. Everything. Awareness, if there is no awareness, I'm so used to talking in Hindi, English, so I'm going to stick to English. It's very important. You're breathing right now. Can you just concentrate on your breathing? Too much of lecture happening. Let's do an activity. Concentrate on your breathing right now. Breathe in slowly and breathe out smoothly. Normal breathing, no deep breathing. Just breathing. This is awareness. And this is what I tell my client to do first when they have to come to me and talk to me. Breathe, because we forget. We forget to breathe. We're breathing, but we forget to breathe. It's a very important point. We're not aware. We're not aware that we are living. So just imagine if we are not aware of this part, our basic, the thing that I am there because of my breathing, I don't know that. How am I supposed to know there is an issue and there is a concern in my relationship? Dur ki baat hai. A long way to go to reach there. B stands for believe. So I say A, B, C. A stands for awareness. B stands for believe. Believe in yourself. Too much believe is there because we're talking about ego bias. Believing in myself too much. I'm taking too much pressure. Believe in the other person. Now both ways. If your partner is telling you, any partner, whether it is your parent your colleague or your spouse or your boyfriend, girlfriend, if the person is telling you, I'm a bad person, I cannot do it, believe it. You know, in India, I'll take care of it. My husband, I can take care of it. My love will change it. If the person is telling, the person knows himself, herself better than what you know the person. Believe the person tells you I'm bad. And believe the person says it's good. So it's a belief system that will take care of the second step. And C is collaborate or communicate. Communication happens in two ways. So this is ABC of how we can overcome, I think, any concerns, especially related to ego biases in a relationship. Collaborate and communicate. So, because we've grown up watching Bollywood movies, 3-hour movie, Shah Rukh Khan, Salman Khan, Amir Khan, any top actor you take it, and there is a nice, beautiful actress, Kareena Kapoor, Aishwarya Rai, anybody, you know, they just understand what is happening and they stand by each other. 3-hour movie, they have to show it fast forward, but this is your damn life. And this does not happen in real life. If you don't tell your partner, and if you don't tell the other person that, listen, this is what I'm feeling and this is what I'm going through, your partner's not going to understand. I've had couples sitting in front of me, itna to samajhna chahiye na. The person should know na. My partner should know. Why? Why should your partner know? I asked them, why? Why do you think? Were they dreaming about you last night? Were they very intuitive? They're not even aware. For them, they're talking about intuition. Why are they talking about this? Because, but in movies they show like that. Movies they show. We've grown up watching movies like that, but reality is different. So communicate and collaborate is very, very important, and that's the third step when we talk about overcoming ego bias. So there's a very important exercise actually that I usually do in my group workshops or trainings. I ask, so let's do it, you know, it's a 1 minute, I have time, right? So let's do this. Look at the person sitting next to you. Look at the person sitting next to you very carefully, because I'm going to ask you a question about that person. Okay? Okay, so now tell me, is the person sitting next to you exactly like you? No. Okay. So I'm going to rephrase my question. Is there anybody in this entire conference, Women Economy Forum conference, is there anybody you met who's exactly like you? Is there anybody in this country, wherever you're coming from, exactly like you? Is there anybody in this entire world who's exactly like you? Might be. Answers are changing now. Can't be? No. There is nobody in this entire earth, on this planet at least, don't know about parallel universe as of now, we are researching, but how much we know, there is nobody on this earth who's exactly like you, exactly like how you can talk, walk, think, imagine. There is nobody who can write like you, talk like you, walk like you, imagine like you, has the same intuition as you have, has the same signature as you have, has the same fingerprints as you have, cannot bear your child, cannot have the same dreams as you have. So just understand, whoever is the creator, I'm coming from mind to heart now, whoever is the creator, you believe, don't believe, there is some power created you. Put in so much of attention in creating is so different. So your partner is also different, no? So if you are so different, your partner, your mother, your father, your colleague, your boss, your junior, your senior, everybody is different. So what we can do is accept them as you accept yourself to be blessed and different. Somebody created you with love. Somebody created them with love. So when we come with our goodness, we also come with a bad thing, right? So you have bad, the other person also has bad. So how you look at yourself, try and look at the other person also. मैं सही हूँ वो गलत है. Feels very nice because you come from a powerful position. So when I do this activity, I hope it touched you somewhere and made you realize that if I am created unique, my partner is created unique, Every person sitting over here has a unique story. So every relationship that you create or are going through or had was unique. You learned, you moved on, you create new relationships. But there are only 3 steps to overcome those ego biases. We all have ego. It's very nice to say, I'm very kind, nice. As she said, I'm humble. When you say that, that is also an ego. Right? So to overcome anything, that ABC is the basic step. Be aware of where you stand. Be aware you're unique. So the other person is too. Believe in yourself that if I am unique, I am different, I can do this, the other person cannot do the same thing, maybe something else. See, collaborate and communicate with that person. Because that's the key. If you don't talk, if you don't listen, as she said, if you don't listen, nothing can happen. So 3 steps to overcoming this. I'm open for questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Does anyone have any queries from any of the speakers? Yeah, please. From which speaker?
Firstly, thank you all the speakers for very life-affirming talks. And you mentioned the importance of listening, which is so empowering for an individual and a relationship. But what if that listening happens from one person to the other and is not reciprocated by the other person? Because you mentioned the process of listening, acknowledging, and sharing. What if one partner is not given the chance of sharing in any human then what?
And it's very common. I would say it happens most of the time where one person in a relationship wants to listen, wants to share, wants to accept, wants to acknowledge and appreciate, whereas the other person is not ready to do that. So when that situation arises, I always say that emotion is always, it has its peak. So any emotion you take, whether it's a positive or a negative emotion, always has a peak. So I wait for the peak to come down. So as an emotion, it goes to a reactive stage and it goes to a peak and then it comes down. So I give that person little space, little emptiness, so that the person is in that emotion, goes away, and then when the person is at a neutral level probably, so the physiology changes the moment the emotions go down. And then I again come and speak to the person. So the moment I do that, the person then becomes a little open. And the other way what I do is, I keeps the person reminded about what were the good things that we did in a relationship. So even if there's a remembrance of 1 or 2 memories where we have done good things, that puts the person into a little more positive state, and that's how the person becomes open. And that's what I do. So I wait for the moment again. I don't then, what she rightly mentioned, that I don't fight for that. And again go back into that space of being into the ego. So I wait for the moment to happen.
I hear what you say and it's really helpful, but I'm not speaking only about a romantic relationship, but what if, say, the 2 of us are friends and, I'm waiting for you to neutralize and to respond and not be reactive, and you've taken 6 months, but maybe I've withdrawn. When you return in 6 months, I don't feel the same connect anymore. That's 6 months that you've processed to come back to equilibrium. I have processed to create my own peace, my own answers, and move away. I see this happening all the time, not just with me, but observing around me. So
Yes,
how
I've
do
gone
you-
through it myself.
Absolutely.
How do you see this?
Yeah, because there the rapport is already broken. And because the rapport is broken, and now the other person wants to rebuild the rapport again, by the time you're already withdrawn and you have your own ways of now working in a relationship, that okay, now I don't feel like I don't get that connect again. So when the person comes back again, maybe even after 6 months, and wants to rebuild the rapport in a relationship again, to some extent, I would give it a chance to see that what is it now the person is coming back and wants to share or wants to express, or maybe wants to, why the person is come. So I would look at the intentions for that behavior. For me to understand the intentions is more important in a behavior. So if the intent of the person is okay, is good, I would go ahead with that particular situation.
What you're basically the other person, say it was our friendship and you return in 6 months, I should basically operate from a very mature and evolved state of mind and spirit. And if in an everyday world people are not doing that, then you're going to have failed relationships. See, in a marriage, often possibly people will wait because there's a lot at stake. There are more consequences. But in a friendship like ours, I see people just, that's when the connect becomes a disconnect.
And I see it's not only in friendship, I also see in a lot in a younger generation where they don't wait. Whatever is the relationship, they will not wait. They will like, okay, this is not working. Let's move. There's an instant, yes. And there's very impulsive kind of a behavior that I see in younger generation. And probably that's also maybe one of the reasons why, if they don't see the instant results, if they don't see that there is one element that I'm getting from a relationship, okay, now let's move to the next thing. Irrespective of whatever the relationship is. Whether it is family dynamics or whether it is outside family, whether it is workplace, they would want that instant connect. If it's not there, so I also see that kind of impulse that is there in younger generation. That is where probably where even she mentioned about patience, that her husband, her friend came in and gave a lot of patience in a relationship. I do respect that, yes, patience is an important element. Otherwise, relationship will just be from one to another and to the other.
For Sherry, this was a classic case of love and you turning around to love, combined love of your children and your partner.
I guess, yeah, for me, I think it's more an eye-opener for me to stop being bitter about everything. And to answer, if I can just add on to that, I've had situations like this where people have just done, these have been very close friends who would just walk away, not say much, or probably we would have had a difference of opinion, and come back after 6 months, right? I think that's, like you said, you would have probably moved on. But I would stop to just question, okay, what is your intent now? Okay, what is the space that you're coming from? I would still probably want to give the benefit of the doubt, but of course that's very personal in nature, right? What is it? If that relationship really meant a lot to me, I think I would take a step back, say, okay, I've been hurt by this person once, who walked away from me, didn't give me any explanation. Yes, I was hurt. I am still hurting, but am I also willing to look at that perspective, given plus 6 months? I think I would probably do that. But I'm not suggesting that's what is to be done, because not everybody wants to do that, right? When you're hurting, right? So I don't know.
As psychologists and coaches, do you see that when people return, the intent is most likely positive, and is the relationship going to be stronger than what it was before? Because in my observations, it weakens. I do not see relationships going back to the equilibrium. I'm saying mostly, not always, to what they were. The cracks start appearing, and then that's where the light comes in. If you want to take a spiritually evolved world.
Yes.
I can add on. She put the C, and I think, sorry.
Yeah.
I think this is exactly what comes in between, because it can't be that two people have the same pace. So you give patience, or you have patience, or you just give some space so that the other person can think about it, develop, or whatsoever. And then the communication or collaboration comes, that you're not assuming something about the other person, friend or co-worker, or whatever it is, or spouse. So to give really the space and to try to understand instead of guessing, just asking about the timing. I think you said the timing, or you said the timing. Somebody talked about the timing. Sorry, I came from someone in between. And I think it's also really, that's what I learned, being patient and also understand what is the right timing, rather than saying, leave it. So, this other person is just not aware of. Let's call it a friendship. Like you said, we bring up kids right now with instant stuff. We have instant coffee, we have instant messaging, we have instant everything. So how can they learn different? So we are the role models actually, who has to take their place.
So I would agree to what she mentioned, that yes, people, when there are cracks in a relationship,
you look at it from one perspective, it is difficult or impossible to build that cracks or fill those cracks in a relationship. And if you look at it from the other way, for me, in a relationship, intentions are very, very important. If the person has come back, whether a friend or a manager or a boss, or it could be any person, if the person has come back, then what are the intentions behind that action or a behavior? And when I understand that intentions, I would give it a chance to find out. I'm not talking about the cracks that has been built. If there's a crack, very good. Let me put a seed of trust and patience there, and let's see what comes up. Might be there could be some plan that comes up which we have never foreseen it when we were together. So let me do that. So I would do that.
If I may just add in here, I'm just very curious as a coach, as a counselor as well, but listening to this perspective, if either the ABCs or the 4 steps that you were mentioning, it's easier for us to understand the collaboration, the communication when we have a third person neutralizing or showing you perspectives. So as a coach or a counselor, telling whoever is either the couple or the partners in front of you, or even if it's an individual, to say, what do you think the intention is, or what is the intention? Whereas if you're looking at it from a neutral perspective, then we have to assume that role of being involved. But if we aren't, or if we've moved on, then perhaps that stage of communication and collaboration, if it's not being reciprocated from the other side, and you don't have a third person sitting there guiding you through it, then that person is stuck. So taking these tools and saying, let me try to communicate and collaborate and try to express myself, when it's not reciprocated, if the team together would refuse or not consider, say, seeking help, then everything seems to be just,
It's toxic, right?
It's toxic if it's going in that direction, then yes. But otherwise, I'm really curious, because if we weren't coaches, or if I weren't a coach, or for those of you who haven't been to a coach or a counselor, and that communication is not reciprocated, I think work with people from diverse backgrounds, So when you try to express and you try to communicate, and you don't have a third person who knows what's happening here in terms of dynamics, and that person doesn't respond, then what?
Some people have a lot of points and discussion happening here. We'll try and summarize the whole question. One, when we are trying to communicate with somebody, and after see the example, what I can do, 2 aspects of where under my control, beyond my control. What's under my control is I'm telling the person, I want to work on this, whatever relationship it is. I want to work on this, I want to make it better. That is my intention. Do you have the same intention? The person says yes, no, maybe. Okay, I want to work on it. This is what my feeling is. I would want to sit and discuss with you on this. Would you want to give me a little time? Maybe not right now, maybe tomorrow, maybe after 1 week. I shall wait. So patience coming over there. I will wait. Choice is yours. Choice is yours. Whether you want to do that or you don't want to. But what is under my control is I have expressed my feeling to you, saying that my intention is that I make it beautiful. I want to make it work. I know maybe there might be issues, and maybe you're not in your state of mind to talk right now. But I am willing to work. It's basically on the road, we are in a very crowded city. On the road, if somebody push you and will go, the person's gone. You are standing there and abusing. The person's already gone. You don't want to suffer. So the choice is yours. Whether you want to say, okay, I forgive you, bye. Or you stand there and abuse. The choice is yours.
I think it's that choice that differentiates, whether every relationship is supposed to work, meant to work, or not. It's just the choice.
And that working, communicating with people, a lot of basic skill is, for example, a lot of issues also come because of sexual intimacy. Okay, so my expectation and the partner's expectation is 9, his desire is 9, the woman is at 5, or vice versa. Man is referred to woman. They're not able to fight. They're not able to, reach to an extent. How do you want to go for it? Where do I stand? Where do you stand? That is where awareness comes in. How do you scale yourself? In any situation, whether it's sexual, whether it's friendship, whether it's work. My intention levels are so much how much is yours. So if it's not matching, make a choice. Make a choice, stay there. Come out there and stay.
Sorry to interrupt, but we have to close this discussion here.
No, sometimes I think, Lovina, just to add to that, yeah. I've also noticed that sometimes it's okay not to communicate. Sometimes it helps a lot not to communicate. I have seen, no, I'll just tell you this, okay? Very close friend of mine, I don't know, she just moved away, that's it. And I have all these, happening. I mean, we never have dearth of drama in our lives, right? It's like a Bollywood film anyway. So, I did express myself, I'm hurt by what you're doing, and that's where it ended. But instead of making and feeling like a victim and making myself like, oh my god, did I do something and all this blah blah, I said, okay, let me try a different approach, which is where you're saying, okay, be an observer in the entire thing rather than, feel like a victim when somebody who's been, put down. And I told her only one thing, I said, roam the entire world, come back, and I'm still going to be the friend that I've always been to you. That's exactly what happened. So sometimes, maybe there are phrases, not sometimes, it's okay not to communicate everything. Sometimes there are things that you can work out by not just keeping it, letting simmer. Things can resurface. There are those realizations that it's more a personal experience, may not always be. Yeah, but it was, you don't need to work on everything every time. Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, speakers, please come here to have a group photograph, please.
Thank you.
Gully with the black and white skirt. One for the four of us. With my phone.
This one?
I don't know. You have to know me. अभी अब मुझे भी नहीं पता है इसका. You so I didn't know the bag. मुझे नहीं पता. It's from your phone. I'll have to see my. Take my phone. Maybe it's big. You can show my smile.
That's all.
It's at least good to talk once in a while.
Yes. Always on the safer side. Thank you.